Hey up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek, and this is my review of Andor, Season 1, Episode 7, The Announcement. So let's just get into it, shall we? Right, I'm back. Right, so off we jolly well go. Where is it? There we go. There we do the recap. There we see there's Luthen, Rail, looking snarly. And it's just showing us what we've already seen. Obviously, 'cause it's a recap, and Cassian escaping from Phoenix and going on his mission and stealing the Imperial payroll, and all that jazz. And the Cyril, I forgot his last name, the other chap. He's gone back to mummies. That's what he's done. So she's going to get him a job. She's going to ask her uncle, somebody or other, for a favour. And that's what's happening so far. Right, hey, Cyril Khan. That's it. That's who that is. So off we go. By the way, yes, Skeen turned out to be a bad guy. So Cassian shot him, and Mon Mothma is getting worried about the activities that people like Luthen are getting up to. She fears being exposed, basically. Right, so off we go. We get the incredibly long Andor intro title. takes an age to come on. I say that every week. But it's true. Right, we're with Cyril Khan. His mother calls him Cyril, but I've heard other people call him Cyril. So I don't know how the hell to pronounce it. Anyway, so he's here he's on Coruscant. I think he's on Coruscant. In his little living module. It's actually really well shot. You get a real sense that you're in this world with all the views through windows and stuff like that. It's incredibly atmospheric, and it's really well done. So, props for that. Anyway, so this is his mother's going to tell him that Uncle, I can't remember his name. I'll call him Otto. I know it's not that, but Uncle Otto has got him a job at some Imperial Bureau, standards and practices or something like that. And she's berating him over his choice of suit. He just says it's a brown suit, but she thinks the collar's too high. It must be a fashion thing. Anyway, by the way, after all the excitement and action of last week, it slows down again this week. But there is still some, kind of exciting stuff that goes on. So off he goes. He finds out about the attack on Aldhani. Pardon me. From the Imperial News Net. Very old-fashioned looking TV there, isn't it? Very 1977. So he finds out about that. This is I forgot her name as well. Tell you, my memory. Denise Goff as Dedra Miro, Supervisor Miro. She's getting ready here to go to work. So here we go. There she goes, and they're getting a briefing. That's if we see this part from obviously an important Imperial officer, and he's telling them basically the Empire is tightening its grip across the galaxy. They've had enough of people taking advantage of the kindness of the Empire. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's getting at. So they're tightening the grip, and no more shenanigans from the citizenry. So Dedra, she knows that the rebellion is doing stuff and acquiring resources. That's what she wants to prove. So anyway, Luthen is back at his shop. He's listening to I don't know, is it some sort of pirate radio? I don't know, but he's getting information about the attack on Aldani. His assistant says that Mon Mothma's arrived, so here she is. And for some reason, her driver, who's also spying on her, doesn't follow her in this time. He did last time, but he doesn't this time. So they can talk, I suppose. So she goes into the shop, and they're pretending to be all nice, and he's laughing. She's saying things to him, that things are going wrong, and he's laughing for the benefit of the spy outside, who's her driver. So she's getting scared, and he says, "Well, we've got to do these things. They're setting up a rebellion," and she says, we're setting up this rebellion." She didn't say that, but he says it's set up. It's all ready to go. So that's what's happening there. So she leaves, and obviously things are beginning to be set in motion. So this is Cyril. He's got his job in a big office environment with lots of cubicles. And he tells this fellow that's supervising him, he tells him all about why he left Morlana, and that he was, with corporate security, and he was punished because people died. And he says that he needs to, clear his name and prove that, he didn't do wrong. And the supervisor, for some reason, says, "Well, we'll get a start on that." And I thought, eh? But anyway, shoves him in his cubicle, so he gets to work. There's a mouse droid. This is Luthen's assistant. She's going to meet somebody, and we see stormtroopers finally. I went, "Yay, stormtroopers! Yay!" We see a few of those. A few stormtroopers and clone troopers this episode. Anyway, so she's heads through this, obviously some sort of security checkpoint. And she's meeting up with Lev. Have I got that right? Or is it Vel? I can never remember. It's Vel. I always get it wrong way round. She's meeting with Vel, who's obviously just arrived from Andor. Remember, the entire crew on that heist died, apart from Vel and Cassian, and he's headed back to Ferrix. So anyway, so she meets with Vel in a minute. Unless I've gone past it, you know what I'm like. No, she's still on the way to meet Vel. This is Dedra. She goes to this office with this officer who's obviously caught by surprise. He's got his feet up, and she says she wants information about all missing Imperial equipment, basically anything, comms, military, anything from everywhere. He says, "What star system?" She says, "All of them," and she wants it by tomorrow. And we cut to Aldani, and we see Cinta. Oh, I forgot about Cinta. Yeah, Cinta was the only other one who survived, but she remained behind on Aldani, disguised as an Imperial officer. But she's uncovering some sort of speeder, and then she hears a rumble, and she looks up. A Star Destroyer flies over, and that looks cool, doesn't it? A lot of people don't like it, that they see them in atmospheres, but I think that looks super cool as it glides over, and it's a good sense of scale and depth as it disappears into the mist, into the clouds. Right, so this is Luthen's assistant. I presume she's got a name. I don't know what it is. So here she meets Vel, who looks very glamorous. She looks different to how we saw her on the mission. So she's saying, they've got to tie up basically all the loose ends. They've got to tie up the loose ends. So Vel's got to go and find Cassian, and the implication is that it's got to go and kill Cassian because he's a loose end. But obviously we know that she doesn't because he's in Rogue One, isn't he? But she must bring him in to the fold. But anyway, so that's what they're talking about. So that's what she's got to do. This is Cassian. He's on Ferrix. I think that's Cassian. Anyway, so he arrives back at Marva's house, and he's walking through the dark streets of Ferrix. It is Ferrix, isn't it? It's not Phoenix, it's Ferrix. I can't remember. It's a few episodes since we've been back there. Anyway, this is Marva, Fiona Shaw, the droid wakes her up because there's somebody knocking on the door, and it's Cassian. He's come back to her. So it says, he's got enough. They can leave, but she doesn't want to leave. So she says, "I'm tired. You've woke me up in the middle of the night." So I said, because he wants to go immediately. So I said, "All right, well, I've got to go and see Bix. Is it Bix? The attractive young woman that helped him. Yeah, Bix Colleen. He's got to go and see her because he finds out here that it was Tim, Bix's boyfriend, that sold him out to the Empire, well, to the corporate security. So he's got to go and see Bix anyway and clear up that loose end. So he says, "All right, we'll leave in the morning." So off he goes into the night. Right, so meanwhile, back on Coruscant, Mon Mothma's having a party. Remember, her husband set up a party that she wasn't really happy about. But so she's doing her duty. She's being all nice and diplomatic as she's supposed to be because she's a senator. And she's talking to this chap who's a banker. Don't ask me his name, I can't remember. Does it say? Because it might ring a bell. No. Yes, it does. It's Tay Colmer. He's a banker who is Mon Mothma's childhood friend. And she asks him for help because he can... Apparently she's having difficulty accessing her family fortune. That's how she describes it, her family fortune. So she's having trouble accessing that, or as much as she wants to. So she wants him to help out because he's a banker, and we get the impression that he's sympathetic to the ideals of the rebellion, and he says as much. And so she says as much back to him, but she says, she's setting up things that are outwardly charitable endeavours, but they're not really. And she says, you don't really want to know the details. So obviously they're going to work together. She says, don't tell her husband, Perrin. Don't tell him, because he doesn't know anything about it. And she doesn't trust him. Doesn't trust her own husband. Do you think it were a marriage of convenience? I think it probably was. That's her daughter. She has to be excused. Don't know why. Don't know what importance that has, but they spent some time on that. Her daughter wanting to leave the party. We see a few aliens, by the way. Did you see that back there? We see a few aliens at the party. Non-humans. I think they might be the first that we've seen, I think, in this show. Apart from the ones that we might have seen in the Senate in the last episode. But yeah, there's one there. Look. There's one or two of them. So they're talking, basically plotting. He looks a bit suspicious, and she's just amazingly attractive, isn't she? Genevieve O'Reilly is astonishingly beautiful. I think she is, anyway. So basically, I think they're going to be, working together as part of the rebellion. So Cassian arrives at Bix's, it's like a scrapyard, isn't it? A junkyard. So he meets her, he sees that she's got bruises, and he says, I walked into a door or whatever, a wall. But she's not really happy to see him, so he leaves, and he says he gives her 12,000 credits, which will cover his debts to her and other people that he owes money to, because he says he's leaving. There she is. So that's that. I say I'm skimming through this quite quick because, to be honest, there's a lot of talking in this episode, not a lot of action. Right, Cassian, he sees some stormtroopers down the street, and he ducks into an alley. Hang on, see if I can find that. Never mind. He sees some stormtroopers down the street, and he ducks into an alley, and then kind of has a bit of has a bit of a flashback to when he was younger. When I don't know where they were, but we'll see in a minute. There we go. And he's with Clem. Clem was the person remember, he took that name on the mission, Clem. So Clem was the person, I think he was like Marva's partner when they found Cassian as a child on that other planet. I just never can't remember. He was like the Lord of the Flies gang, all those kids. And they took him away. Saved him, apparently, because I think everybody were murdered, presumably by clone troopers, because has the Empire taken over now, and these are like Imperial clone troopers, but they do talk about the Republic, so it's obviously before the Republic falls. The Palpatine says the Republic is to be reorganized into the first galactic empire, so it's obviously before that. But they're not being very nice. You see you watch the Clone Wars, you think, oh, the Republic clone troopers and stuff they're the good guys, and they're all out for freedom and saving people, and the Separatists are usually portrayed, not always, but usually portrayed as the bad guys, Dooku and all that, and the battle droids and stuff, and General Grievous. But in this, the clone troopers are marching down the street, and people are shouting, up with the Republic, and then other people are shouting down with the Republic, or words to that effect, and they start throwing stones at the troopers. And see, I've gone too far now. And the officers order the troops to stop, and Clem tries to calm everybody down, and the troopers turn round, and the officer says, "Take aim," and then it cuts away, so we don't know what happens. But it turns out that Clem, along with some others, were hanged, just for throwing stones at some clone troopers. So there you go. So the Republic wasn't all good. So that was Cassian remembering that. And next morning, he goes back to Marv and says she hasn't packed, and she's not leaving. She's not going to go. She says she's going to stay there, because she says the Empire's everywhere, basically, and it doesn't matter. You can't hide from them. And then she talks about the rebellion, so she's obviously sympathetic to the rebellion, or maybe she's part of it, I don't know. But she's going to do what she can to work against the Empire on Ferrix. So Cassian basically leaves, because, he don't want to stay. So I presume he leaves some money with her, some credits, I don't know. But he buggers off. And then there must be some sort of passage of time. We don't know how long's passed after they separate. This is where she tells him that, the talk about Clem being hanged. We might get a flashback of that, but you just see his feet swinging. You don't see it in its gory detail, but obviously she's upset there with tears in her eyes. So they go their separate ways. She's still got B2 EMO to look after her. So yeah, then we're back at the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, and in this supervisor, I can't remember his name. I'm rubbish at remembering these names. Let's have a look. Is it going to tell us here? Can't remember his name. No, this supervisor anyway, who is basically, is in opposition to Dedra, Supervisor Dedra Miro. They've been bumping heads, shall we say. Wish I could remember his name. No, it doesn't say. Doesn't say in this list that I've got here of characters. No. Anyway, so he's he tries to dob Dedra in trouble. He says, she's been doing things without authorization, and she doesn't deny it. She says, she's using the Imperial, basically the Patriot Act. That's what it boils down to, doesn't it? Using that to garner information about rebel activities. And it's worse. She says, she knows what's going on, and she's got proof of, things that have been stolen and stuff like that. So rather than getting punished, she gets basically promoted. She gets given authority over this other officer's territories. It includes ferrics. And I thought, and then Major Partagaz says, walk with me, Dedra. So she walks with him, and that's usually you're going to get chewed out in Star Trek anyway. That's when you get chewed out, isn't it, by your superior officer. But he doesn't say that. He just says, "Well played," and watch your back. So there you go. So that's what happens in this scene. Then we cut. Then I think there's some passage of time. I don't know how long, because then we go to another planet in a moment. It'll tell us its name if I can find it. We see some birds flying. Right, it's called Niamos, the planet, and it's must be like a resort, because Cassian's there under an assumed name, and he says he's a tourist. Anyway, he's shacked up with an attractive young woman, and I get the impression they've been like doing drugs and stuff like that, because she seems a bit spaced out and is to go out and get some more things, and they use weird names and stuff. But to me, it was like the impression that is to go out and get booze and drugs. That's the feeling I got from it. So he's going to go out and get supplies, basically. He might be going out for Twinkies for all I know. I don't know, but he goes out and he's walking along the promenade, if that's what they have, and he gets caught up in like a minor incident. He's looking round and he is shouting, and obviously some probe droids flying about, and there's a man being chased by shore troopers. Remember those from Rogue One? And then he gets stopped by a shore trooper. Here we go. And he's looking suspicious because he keeps looking around, and Cassian says, well, I'm just wondering what's going on, that's all. He heard all this shouting and stuff. He says, I'm a tourist and I'm just going to the store there, and I just wonder what was going on. But this trooper is obviously suspicious of him. Maybe, I don't, is he high ranking? He's got a red stripe on his arm. Does that mean he's like a sergeant or a lieutenant or something? I don't know. But anyway, he doesn't believe Cassian. And then an Imperial droid appears, like K2SO. They call it a KX droid in the subtitles. One of those appears, and I thought, is it K2SO? But obviously it's not, because it's got a different voice. And the shore trooper says, keep him here until I get back. So there we go. There it appears, look. And it obviously mishears the shore trooper, and it tries. It says it wants to hang Cassian, and it grabs him by the throat. There's another one there, look. And they've killed people. There's people here lying dead on the floor. They've throttled the life out of them. Well, this one has anyway. Is this one going to become K2SO? I don't know. Does it get reprogrammed? I don't know. But there we go. It gets Cassian by the throat, and it's saying, going to hang him. And it's saying, it told me to keep him there, not hang me. So it's throttling him. And that's the last we see of Cassian for that episode. No, it ain't. I'm lying. Then we cut to a courtroom scene. There's some sort of judge or magistrate doling out, it seems like random sentences. Somebody gets 4 months for loitering or whatever. And Cassian's there under his assumed name. And these weird charges that are nothing to do with him. And he gets 6 years for it. So he says, no, I haven't done anything wrong. He says, well, whatever, take it up with the Emperor. So they drag him out of court. And this is Cyril back at in his cubicle, and I don't know if he's doing the work he's supposed to do, but you get the impression here he's looking at things on his screen, and I think he's digging about for information about Cassian Andor. Basically, he's obsessed with finding Cassian Andor. And that's the end. That's the end of that episode, directed by Benjamin Caron. A good episode, but not exactly action-packed. I like seeing the K2SO style droids again. That were good. And good to see some stormtroopers. Yay! But, there were no real action like we got last week. But it was still an enjoyable episode. Let's get rid of that. It was still an enjoyable episode, even though, not a lot happened. But again, it's world building. You do get a sense that you're in this world. You're in the Empire. It's nothing to do with the Skywalkers. It's little to do with the rebellion that's going on. It's the early stages of the rebellion. It's all being set up, and everybody's scared, and the Empire's tightening its grip on the galaxy. So it's interesting to see, how Cassian ends up with the Rebel Alliance. When will he end up? Will we see him setting up the base on Yavin 4? That'll be nice to see. I hope we do see that. Or maybe they're there already. I don't know. That's where he'll end up. But yeah, a good episode. I enjoyed watching it. Even though not a lot happened, it was still really interesting and really, kind of enthralling. I was taken away to that galaxy far, far away. Oh, there was something they said, and I forgot what it was. Oh, that was it. When he knocks on Bix's door, obviously, shaving a haircut exists in a galaxy far, far away drinking game. Hang on. Because he knocks on the door and he goes, dit, 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 dit. So that must be a universal constant for knocking on doors. But yeah, that was one thing that made me, roll my eyes a little bit. But anyway, it was a good episode, and I'd give that a 7 out of 10. Because, it wasn't exactly super action-packed, but we saw stormtroopers and we saw a Star Destroyer, which were good. So 7 out of 10 for that. So that was episode 7. So how many have we got left? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5 more episodes. So we're over halfway in season 1. But apparently we're not going to see K2SO in season 1. So I don't know what will happen with those. If we'll see those Imperial security droids again, I don't know. But anyway, we'll leave it there for now. So, wherever you are in the galaxy, in the Empire, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee.